Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Foreign Investment Friday. I'm your host, Hector Aguilar of eXp Realty. Are you looking to diversify your portfolio? Are you thinking about possibly hedging against inflation? Maybe you're thinking about making some investments internationally. Well, stay tuned because today we have Forest to Fortune, a company that is specifically focusing on foreign investments, specifically money growing on trees. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Alain Romero, the founder and CEO of Forest to Fortune, along with Santiago Aguilar, the founder of ITA Global. Welcome, Alain. Welcome, Santiago. Thank you for making the time to be with us this afternoon. How are you?
Doing great.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hector, for having us.
I'm excited to bring this to our audience. I know that right now with the economy the way it is, inflation being on a high, it looks like it's coming down little by little. But we've all suffered from the inflation that we've kind of experienced over the last couple of years, and I think people are looking for alternatives in terms of their capital that they can invest it, maybe hedge it against investments, probably against inflation. And I think that Forest to Fortune might be an amazing opportunity to do just that. Um, like I said, we have Alain Romero, the founder and CEO of Forest to Fortune. Alain, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience, and a brief introduction to Forest to Fortune.
Yes, thank you for having us here, sharing with you. Forest Fortune is an agricultural management company dedicated to the cultivation of tropical hardwoods. And as you know, technology has changed the game on just about anything and everything. So, thanks to technology, you and your audience can now participate in the investment of the cultivation of tropical hardwoods, starting with one tree, for example. So again, this is all thanks to technology. And quick segue to what you had mentioned about inflation.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the math, the dollar has lost, on average, close to 70% in value in purchasing power over the last 20 years.
Wow.
And as a matter of
Mm.
fact, trees are well known, forests and trees are well known as being a hedge against inflation.
That's wonderful. And that's one of the reasons why I was excited to bring Forest to Fortune to our audience is because I think everyone is looking to hedge against inflation, whether it's primarily what I do is real estate, right? So I help people invest their money in properties, single families, 2 to 4 units, 5 to plus units. And so real estate traditionally has been a tool that will also hedge against inflation, but there's always an opportunity to maybe diversify into something that you never thought of, which was trees, wood, and that's also a way to hedge against inflation. So thank you. I look forward to learning more about Forest to Fortune and the opportunities that it brings to us as investors and also to our audience. Today we also have Santiago. Santiago Aguilar is the founder of ITA Global. Santiago, tell us a little bit about yourself, ITA Global, and what the purpose of ITA Global is.
Hey, thank you, Hector. Well, ITA Global, we are a destination management company, and then we create trips, personalized trips, tailor-made trips around the world. But one of the things that started happening, us being in Central America, is that we noticed that Central America is a big boom. Multiple countries such as Panama, Guatemala, El Salvador, they're really going through a humongous growth very fast. We've seen that over the last 5 years. And within that, talking to Alain, I've learned and known about the timber project from the Nicaragua times. And when he told me about his project in Guatemala, I said, I saw the perfect opportunity for us to align so we can manage the customers that are going to Forest to Fortune to see the agricultural lands. And that's how we ended up connecting. We saw an opportunity we started aligning ourselves, working, and ITA Global has an active role now in helping people
Fantastic.
get to Guatemala.
So in a sense, they're the partner that puts together the discovery tours, if you want, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect, perfect. So, Alan, tell us a little bit about Forest to Fortune. What specifically is Forest to Fortune, and how can someone get involved in investing in Forest to Fortune?
Yes, I will. And I want to touch on a point that you made, which is real estate. So as you're listening to this message, don't forget this is a real estate investment, and it's a real estate investment in agricultural land in Guatemala, in northern Guatemala. Um, Except that rather than having buildings on the land, what you have are trees. And the feature about trees is that they grow exponentially. Think about it. They start very small and they very quickly begin to grow. Particularly, uh, as we do it at Forest to Fortune, we grow trees in a way that is technified. So these forests are planned, are designed, are established, and they are cultivated.
Okay.
And so that is the background of what we do. This is very much a real estate investment, and it's a real estate investment in trees.
So tell us a little bit about the rise in tree investments and why trees? Why is that an opportunity for some investors that could take advantage of being able to invest in timber and trees?
Very good. So what I like to talk about when talking about this topic is think about the gold rush. Once upon a time, we began to value gold. We discovered that there was gold in California, and that gave rise to a gold rush in what we know today as California. Think about now, let's get a little bit closer into our topic. Think about water rights.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about aquifers, okay, you will quickly realize if you research who owns the water around the world. Well, you will notice that there are companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola that own the majority of the aquifers around the world.
Hmm.
In similar way that petroleum is owned by different corporations around the world. Well, in 2021, Cambridge University and the UK government conducted a study known as the economics of biodiversity. For the first time in history, and as a society, as a global society, we now understand how to value biodiversity in the same way as you can appraise and value land. Now you can value biodiversity. Before that, as a culture, as a people, we didn't know how to do that. Well, you can think of biodiversity as the wealth of nations now, because now we understand the value of trees, birds, animals,
Mm-hmm.
flora, fauna. So there is a new gold rush that is ensuing, and that is for biodiverse sites. So that is at one end. Think of the future as being the unemployment lines of the future will be filled by individuals that are going to be put to work in restoring degraded land. So think of it this way. Our industrial practices of growing food, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
leave degraded land behind.
It does.
50% of the tropics are already degraded. At Forest to Fortune, what we are is an engine of restoration. So we begin with degraded land. We establish a new ecosystem through agricultural practices. And essentially, what we do is we plant forests. In the tropics, without trees, there is no life. Why? Because it's very hot, very humid, and without trees providing shade, nothing grows. So we begin restoration efforts by establishing what we call high grade, high value ecosystems with high grade tropical hardwoods.
That's awesome. I mean, what a wonderful way to positively impact the environment, right? We've for a long time we've heard about the greenhouse effects, people becoming vegan and vegetarian to eat less meat, to impact, the deforestation of Central and South America. And so it sounds like not only is it an opportunity to hedge against inflation, but it's also an opportunity to restore the environment. And the biodiversity that's being realistically just torn off the landscape, right? And so now that they
That's
understand
correct.
the importance of biodiversity and the future that it holds, for not only the local communities or the local uh, commercial, if you will, but also that global impact that it'll have moving down the way. So that's an amazing opportunity to also be able to impact the environment in a positive way.
Yes, and so, well, one of the things that we're doing because we are not used to growing with forests. Not all of us own forests. And so we have the privilege of working with someone like Santiago Aguilar, who is originally from Nicaragua.
Hmm.
When we met, Santiago Aguilar knows very well the value of tropical hardwoods. And so through his travel management company, what we do is we organize discovery tours. Um, and so, yes, talking about the future, if you want to show me the first slide, I want to make a point there.
Absolutely. Here are your slides.
So this slide exemplifies the bigger picture, the bigger problem. This is an excerpt from a United Nations briefing. And what is happening is that in the next 30 years, so by 2050, we are expecting 2 billion more people in the planet. And
Wow.
so, and so what that will necessitate, in order for us to feed 2 billion more people, house and clothes 2 billion more people, we will need to change the way we do things because 50% of the tropics is already degraded, and that's for a reason. We think that we are separate and apart from the
Mhm.
forest, from the jungles, but in reality, we depend on them heavily.
Absolutely,
And
without a
so
doubt.
in order to achieve being able to deal with the demographic explosion that we are facing, we will have to change our practices. So, what does that mean? As you know and you've heard, we are moving away from petroleum-based products. So we are moving away and we're moving into things that are regenerative. So we're moving into regenerative resources. And what that means is the future very much is about trees. Thank you for the slides. We can keep without them for now.
All right. So tell me a little bit about. I know that the idea here is investing in something that's going to grow. You've already mentioned the necessity in terms of biodiversity, the statement with regards to the United Nations. So obviously, there's an opportunity for growth, and in trees, it has to be a steady growth, right? So tell us a little bit about that and how you see Forest to Fortune as one of the viable uh, partners, if you will, to be able to impact the environment in a positive way.
Yeah, well, there are two topics here. The general macroeconomic, which is supply and demand factors, the species that we grow. Now that you and the audience know that the way forward is trees
Correct.
as a regenerative resource in the planet, as you know, petroleum is not regenerative. We have a finite amount of it.
Correct.
The species that we grow, when you think of forests, you think of natural forests, you think of national forests. Um, the species that we grow are protected around the world by different governments. The
Okay.
federal government here protects these species. So you can't just import a tree, a naturally standing tree, into the country. The trees need to be certified, both in Europe as well as in the United States, where the big consumers for these species. So supply wise, it's a very limited supply of these
Mhm.
species. What do we use these tropical hardwoods for? Well, we grow tropical hardwoods for the world's finest uses. So high-end flooring, high-end finishes, musical instruments, yachts, cars. So the future is regenerative. So in terms of growth, supply-demand dynamics, voracious demand. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of supply, very limited supply. And in terms of growth on the microeconomic level, as I mentioned before, the trees grow exponentially. This is a dynamic asset. Think of when you invest in land or in real estate. Imagine in 10 having 8 times the amount of land or 8 houses. That is what you get with trees. Remember, this is very much a real estate play,
Mhm.
except for the fact that you can buy or lease the land and you can own the trees that are there on that property. And as the tree grows, your money is growing exponentially to the tune of about 8x. So by the time you exit, you're going to be exiting about 8 times. The trees grow 40% in value per year.
40% in value per year. Let's translate that to numbers. What does that mean in numbers? 40% per year. So if you invest $10,000, let's say.
Yeah.
And I know we're just using an example. Obviously, there's no guarantee in terms of returns. Every investment has a risk, and we'll talk about that as well. But let's just keep it simple. Let's say someone invests $10,000.
$10,000 will conservatively turn into $80,000. So 8 times return, 8x.
Okay. And that, what's the term for that period to happen? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years?
It's 15 to 18 years.
Okay.
Unlike what we typically know about trees, everything we know about trees is in their natural setting. Under agricultural practices, the trees grow faster, they grow straight, and we cultivate trees for industrial use. In the natural setting, the trees grow, with the wind.
Right.
However, we grow trees as if they were bonsais, and again, for that matter, for anyone that is looking to make a substantial investment, substantial meaning starting with $50,000, for example, is wise enough to go and visit with us in Santiago's group on our discovery tour.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I know most people are going to want to know what the upside is in investing. And so, having an 8x return in a period of, 15 to 18 years, depending on the amount of money that you invest, could be a pretty strong return in relatively a short amount of time. I mean, 15 years goes by quick, right? I mean, I'm already in my mid-50s, and I remember being, 40 just like 2 weeks ago. So it does go by quick. Right?
Time goes by fast. One of the things. Oh, sorry, Alain. No, I was going to say that one of the best testimonials that I could ever say that I saw is that I am in Nicaragua, and I go to visit a family friend, and he's sharing his farm, right? And then on the distance, I see a lot of little trees, and I say, what is that one? What is those? It's like, oh, I planted 100 hectares, it says, of trees for my great grandchildren, he said. And that's the first time that I realized, I was pretty blown away. And he said, that's how how else am I going to save my money? I got to put it away somewhere. And I'd rather put it in trees so it grows. But he was already thinking 2 generations down the line. So 100 hectares.
You make a great point, because how many of us here in the United States really think about the origin of the wood? Where are we getting our supply? I mean, every home we build, every ADU that we build, even every storage unit that we build on our properties. I mean, it all has to have wood, at least in the U.S. In other countries, they build with concrete, brick, steel, but that has a negative impact on the environment, as you know. And so we don't really think about, the origin of where we get our wood supply. And it sounds like, based on what Ellen said, that it has to be certified wood from other countries that gets permitted into the U.S. So, I mean, when you think about it, wood is a big business, huge business. I don't know if you've been into Home Depot or Lowe's lately, but the cost of wood has gone up, I want to say maybe 350% from just 4 years ago.
That is correct.
Most of it was caused because of the pandemic, right? There was a lack of supply because the mills had shut down, not only here in the United States, but internationally as well. And so now, you have a lack of supply and a huge demand. All of a sudden, those prices were going to continue to go up. And again, to your point, Santiago, there's got to be a future vision in terms of hedging against inflation, right?
Yes.
And saying, hey, how many trees can I plant here that's going to be a return for my grandkids, for my family? Maybe he won't see it, but his grandkids will see it. So what a great point.
Well,
that was the first. Sorry, but that was the first time that really I saw firsthand as somebody that just sharing his normal way of life. This gentleman is he's an investor and he does a lot of things. So, but he was thinking of the future in trees, and he says, it's very simple when you understand agriculture. You plant the tree, you let it grow. That's really the concept that we have been misguided over the many years that money doesn't grow on trees, and actually it does, right? It does grow on trees in so many ways.
It does. You're absolutely right. In this case, it does. I mean, even when you invest in a money market fund, or in the stock market, you're basically putting some seeds in your ground, and with the expectation that investment portfolio is going to grow just similar to a tree. So, why not keep it simple? Why not think of maybe investing in something that's tangible, something that can be seen in the next 10 to 15, 20 years, something that we know is going to be used and needed not only today but in the future. So what a great opportunity to think about maybe investing in trees. And that brings up, what we just talked about, portfolio diversification. What does investing in tree do for you as an investor? It allows you to diversify your funds in something that's safe and secure, like Alan and Santiago said, right? That's going to be a good return between 10, probably 15 to 20, 18 years, maybe 20, but at least you have a return and it's guaranteed because that tree is going to continue to grow, right?
Well, this is a real estate investment. Remember, when we invest in real estate here, we're in it for 30 years So, when we think of investing in trees, you own the tree. You're waiting for the tree to mature.
Right.
If you show me the slides, I'll guide you into the next slide. So, investing in forests is nothing new for banks and institutions and insurance companies. Very easy for you to Google and realize what is happening. The difference is here, through Forest to Fortune, individuals have the opportunity to get in on the game with a minimum investment. The minimum investment per tree is $450.
Okay.
When we talk about what you were talking about, which is the supply demand, bringing in the wood, and as a consequence of COVID, our projections are still based on 2017 prices. But quite frankly, our expectations have shifted because since then, things have just exploded. And believe me, we will continue to experience inflationary pressures here in the US, mainly due to, as you know, the debt. We carry a lot of debt, and because of that, the pressures will continue, and the demand for wood will continue because here we're used to building houses.
Right.
However, what the future holds because of developments in technology, as we were talking about technology, the future of construction for buildings is going to be wood. So multi-level buildings will now be built with wood because there are now technologies where you take tropical hardwoods, you engineer them, and you create structural elements. So supply-demand dynamics are very favorable in this space, and that's why we're in it.
That's fantastic. I mean, what better endorsement than understanding that many of the big financial firms and insurance companies also invest in forestry, and here we have an opportunity for you to invest in forestry directly with Forest to Fortune. So
traditionally,
correct.
forests have always been a hedge against inflation. They've also been a balance sheet builder. Think about Robert Kiyosaki. So here in Los Angeles, I am a commercial industrial real estate developer. In order to do what I do, I need a hefty balance sheet. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to commercial, the name of the game is how big is your balance sheet, not your income.
Assets.
How many assets do you have? So investing in trees is a diversification that helps your future, that helps your balance sheet, and it helps you because you can leverage that balance sheet very easily.
Fantastic. Aside from the opportunities financially and to diversify your portfolio, what other environmental and social benefits does investing in trees provide? I know we spoke a little bit about biodiversity and the impact to the environment, but in terms of social benefits to the local communities, like in Guatemala and some of the neighboring countries that are adapting this business model, what does that do for them?
Well, this is an impact investment. As you know, was not a venture capital. Venture capital emerged as a category in the marketplace. Impact investment was created by the same folks out of Stanford. Impact investment is the next wave of investing, which is placing your money in businesses that favor the environment. Why? Well, for the reasons that we've already talked about. So when we establish a new forest in the tropics, environmentally, we are creating a new ecosystem where it was once degraded, and we are providing jobs, long-term jobs, much needed jobs in remote parts of the tropics.
I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of times we don't really think of some of those positive impacts that, investing in trees might bring, when we just think about the returns that might be, attractive to most people. But, in today's economy, not only locally but globally, we know that government leaders are thinking about the environment, right? They're thinking about global diversity. How can we reduce our greenhouse effect, our emissions? Global warming is always a topic. We mentioned earlier that unfortunately deforestation is a true part of the industry when it comes to the meat industry. And so this alone is a way to counter impact that in a positive way, so that we're not destroying the limited resources that we have in Central and South America. And it allows us an opportunity to also invest in maybe in our own future when it comes to returns on our investment. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I think most people need to understand, aside from the investment aspect of it, what are those impacts that can benefit the local communities and the environment more than anything else.
And it's, look, I know Santiago Aguilar for 20 years, and I know that you know him for about 20 years, and that is why you and I are here. But frankly speaking, even though this is very much a real estate play, because it is a real estate play,
Yeah, absolutely.
you are one of the few and pioneers at this time, brokers in the space that are talking about this. So this, without knowing, this definitely puts you ahead of the curve, and particularly because the trends, as you can imagine, are all moving into this direction, and we are leaders in the industry by way
Mm-hmm.
of our impact investment initiative, because it's always been an institutional play. You can Google it. It's always been a game of endowments, hedge funds, insurance companies. Okay, they typically allocate 5 to 8% of their portfolio. Diversification is the name of the game, and because there are different stages of life, there are different risks that we face, and so diversification is the name of the game.
Absolutely. And it doesn't go without conversation, right? Every investment vehicle has a set of risks, right? I would think that there are some risks, inherent risks in trees and wood. Um, Stating the obvious is, we're suffering through periods of huge forest fires in our local communities, in our local states. So of course, fires could be an issue, right? Most people think, well, what if I invest and my tree goes up in smoke? Aside from fires, what other risks are there when you're investing in forestry and trees and timber?
Yeah, so look, so what we do is we guarantee the tree for growth and health. We own a lot of forests, we own a lot of trees. And so for this part of this side of the investment, which is the impact investment, the citizen participation end, we are self-insured. We protect the little guy, because what we would really like to see is more of society participating in these investments, not just the accredited folks, that really what they do is invest in shares. But we would like to see the little guy owning some of the ag land, not just Nestle and Coca-Cola and all the big guys and the banks and the insurance companies. And so we insure our trees for growth and health. How? By having enough stock and by having diversified sites. With respect to fires, I wrote a blog about that. This is agroforestry. So these are planned forests. The name of the game, since you're in real estate and we are in a very dry state, know that the county requires us to cut the brush and clear the brush. And that practice, just the practice of clearing the brush, minimizes fires, because that is what the fire feeds on.
Correct.
The fire needs fodder, and the fodder are the weeds. So what we do is we simply keep our streets clean. Our streets, what I mean by the streets on the forests.
Correct.
We make our rounds. We keep the combustible material down to nothing, and that is how we prevent fires. And for other aspects, we guarantee our trees.
So aside, when someone invests with Forest to Fortune, obviously there's contracts, there's guarantees. What's the process? Obviously, first and foremost, it's an initial conversation, right? If you're interested in investing with Forest to Fortune, certainly we can get together and do a one-on-one consultation. We'll introduce you to Alan, and talk about that. I think it's also important to note that you're probably going to want to maybe visit a site, right? And that's where Santiago comes in. Santiago with ITA Global, he does what's called a discovery tour, where they'll put together a few days. They'll take you into the local community, whether it's Guatemala or another state, other countries, pardon me, to kind of do a visual walk of what you're going to be investing in. So aside from those risks that we talked about, like what other things do you provide to minimize those risks to potential investors? And I gotta honestly applaud you, because this is an investment opportunity, like you said, for the general investor. You don't have to be an accredited investor.
Right.
Have to millions. You simply have to have the minimum investment amount required and be willing to at least have a conversation with Alan and with Santiago so that we can plan something for you. Tell us a little bit about some of those other things that you provide in terms of someone who wants to invest with Forest to Fortune.
Well, through technology, as you know, we basically DocuSign 2 contracts. One is the ownership contract. Think about it as a title. So each tree is inventoried and geolocated. So with your tree, you receive your ownership document, number one. And number two, the other document that you end up signing electronically is a management agreement that describes everything that we do for the tree, and essentially provides the management for the tree through the life of the tree. We have a marketplace for trees, which means that as time goes by, if you needed to transfer your trees to Santiago, for example, we facilitate that process. So you don't necessarily have to wait for the tree to mature. As the tree grows in value, eventually Santiago is going to want more trees and wait less time. So if you want out, you can transfer your trees, your paperwork to Santiago. The company, through the technology, facilitates the transfer, and the trees management has already been paid for. So really, in reality, what the seller receives from the buyer is the upside. At that time, paperwork is transferred and transaction is completed. So,
and you provide all those steps. You provide all that platform, right?
We have a platform called the Tree Marketplace or Forest Marketplace, where tree owners can buy and sell their trees at any time, essentially. And that is information. So remember, this is all new. This is a societal experiment, if you will. But hey, think about it in the future. We're going to be digitizing the trees. And so you'll be able to trade digital currency backed by trees. That is where the future of this is going. And we've already created the initial marketplace platform for that to happen.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So let me ask you a question. You mentioned minimum time if someone wanted to not wait the 15 or 18 years for the full maturation of the tree. Is there a minimum time period that you require for someone to invest? Is there a 3-year minimum, a 5-year minimum? Is there a minimum or no?
Yeah, so your tree grows in value about 200% about every 5 years is what it accumulates to. So I would say, again, this is a long-term investment that is meant to be as a hedge and a balance sheet a grower. But through our platform, yes, I would say about every 5 years would be a good time frame for you to think of exiting.
Okay, fair enough.
Or simply saying, you know what, I need a little liquidity. And with liquidity comes a price. So you will have to pay a discount to gain that liquidity, but it's going to be available.
And for the most part, you're still going to get a gain, even if you pay a liquidity fee because you want to liquidate, a little bit sooner. And you don't need to liquidate all your portfolio. You can maybe liquidate a percentage of it.
That's right.
That's kind of one of the benefits that you might have if you need to be liquid, in a period of 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we've talked a little bit about, forest to trees, the hedge against inflation, the opportunities it brings. At this time, I want to talk a little bit about the discovery tour. I want my friend Santiago to talk a little bit about what he's put together in terms of a discovery tour to go to Guatemala, to kind of put your boots on the ground to kind of do a little discovery as to what you're investing in. Tell us a little bit about that, Santiago.
Yeah, so the discovery tour was created so people get to see and experience what it is to be in Guatemala, so they can see with their own eyes. Because when I first went, it just gives you. It's almost you have an idea of what it is, but you can compare. This was a degraded land, and this is now the proof of concept, for example. It
Right.
really blows you away. And then you get to understand what they see by the spacing of the trees. People get to really understand the whole concept because you're there. So yeah, so Discovery Tour allows you to meet the team in Guatemala, all the experts in agroforestry. You get to see the process of what happens when the trees are cut. Where do they go? How do they get shipped out? So you get to see the process of your investment. Let's say the life of the investment cycle, from the tiny tree until when it's worth, when it's ready to be harvested.
Hector, why don't you show us the slides so that our audience can see some of what Santiago is referring to. Let's see. Oh, I can control it from here.
You can, correct.
So let's see. So with us, people not only can buy trees, but you can own a forest. So some of our influencer partners are looking, because they have millions of viewers and followers. They are looking to have their own forest as a community. This is what degraded land looks like. It's very dry and brittle, but this is how we restore it, through the use of native palms. And this is the local government. These ladies work for the local government there in Guatemala, and so our trees are registered so that when they mature, we can trade them in the marketplace, in the market. And our trees don't pay taxes because, again, we're doing good for the environment. So the Guatemalan government doesn't charge taxes.
That's awesome.
That is one of our partners. Our foresters are top of the line experts. Where I'm standing, if you see, that is where I tell you we don't have any weeds where our trees are. But behind me, that is a restoration area. All of that used to be a cattle ranch. So what we did is 20 years ago, we restored areas within the farm, which is right behind me. And the areas that were not restored, we planted them as an agricultural project that you see now, which are the trees that I'm holding. So the trees I'm holding are part of our inventory there. Those are the streets that I was telling you about. As you can see, they're very free from weeds.
Correct.
That is an oversight. So what we have created, in essence, is when you think of grapes and wine, you think of regions like Napa. We have created the region of tropical hardwoods in Petén, Guatemala.
That is awesome.
When we say proof of concept, that is our proof of concept, that we can grow and cultivate tropical hardwood that is industry grade.
Yeah, I do see that. I mean, you have something there that demonstrated, one that was planted in 2001, and in 2021 it was a full mature tree.
Mm-hmm. That's what these trees look like on the inside. That's why we call them precious hardwoods.
Wow, that's a beautiful lumber there.
That's a clean cut. It hasn't been buffed or oiled or anything, and that's how it looks. It's incredible. So
that's beautiful.
Again, we use these tropical hardwoods for very high-end uses.
And with that in mind, with high-end uses, they're going to pay a premium for this material, which is going to be a better price than just other trees, right?
Yes, and we don't sell the log. So one of the reasons why we fetch high prices and profits is because clients come to us, established clients. We have a global clientele, and they come to us and they say, this is how many board feet we need, and this is how we need you to cut it. So we do an initial transformation, and therefore that is why we are able to procure the profits that we're talking about of 800% or more.
So basically what you do is you mill it there locally on your plant, and you actually deliver a finished product, boards of feet.
That's correct. We deliver a rough sawn product. Now, if the client wants something more, finished, then we can do that as well, and we would gain more profit from that. Our investors. So again, the tree belongs to our investors. What we do at the end is we collect 10% from the sale, we collect 10%.
Sure.
So our interest is in you fetching more because we're able to make a bigger commission at the end.
The more you fetch for the investor, that 10% becomes a greater pot for Forest.
So think of it as we sell the asset and then we collect the management fee, but at the end.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I've learned a lot. I'm certainly intrigued about this investment opportunity. We entitled this podcast, money does grow on trees, and it's evident, right? We don't only see it in the tree that's in front of us there, but we see it in the environment around us, right? All the buildings, the housing. And I know Santiago mentioned it earlier, and Ellen did too. You as a builder developer here in the United States in Southern California, I mean, we're seeing new construction from all kinds of builders, HK Komnani and Lennar, KB Home, Tyler Morrison, so many other builders that are developing here locally, and they need wood. They need maybe not construction grade wood, because this is not what this is, but what I want to get to is that there's definitely a demand that maybe we don't particularly think about because it's out of sight, out of mind. So here's an incredible opportunity to maybe get involved in something that can help you diversify your portfolio, help you hedge against inflation. And just like Alan said, is you're investing in real estate. It's at the most primal point, which is trees, wood. So
that is very true. Well said.
Do you think that with the minute we have, maybe Santiago can go through the Discovery Tour images?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can load that.
Our upcoming and our next Discovery Tour is going to be at the beginning of the year. We're thinking of January 2nd through January 5th of 2025. Okay. So that would be, if you become an investor now, you can go and see your trees in about 3 months from now. It'll be a great opportunity for you to get to see it live.
Absolutely.
All right. Let me
so during the Discovery Tour. Oh, sorry. So during the Discovery Tour. Oh, you got it. What we do is, we pretty much make it a worry-free experience. Upon arrival to Guatemala, our team will pick you up at the airport. We'll take care of your lodging, your transportations, and the meetings, meeting of the team, and visiting the different sites in Guatemala. So for those 4 days, you're going to get to talk to the experts and really learn the insights of your investments.
I'm trying to pull that up so that you can share it. I'm having a hard time doing that, but if you guys do want to look at what's on that website, I've actually put a link here to it.
There we go.
So you can see it. You can go ahead and copy and paste that, put that in a new tab, and it'll show you all the different aspects of the tour. I am reading here that it does include picking you up. It includes an itinerary to go and see the location. I believe it does come with food and a couple of things. How many nights do you stay there?
It's 4 days, 3 nights. It includes lodging, transportations, and all the entire visit in a program visit to different sites, within the Petén region. The whole purpose of that is for you to become so you can have a full understanding of your investment.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to do so, right? Anyone that wants to invest is going to want to know what they're investing in. And like you said, maybe it's an opportunity to put some boots on the ground and kind of get that understanding of what you're investing in and give you that comfortability that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, like any other real estate investment, you go, you walk it, you see it. Here you will also get to meet, the foresters. You'll get to see the site. You'll get to see where we transform the wood. You'll get to see where it ships from all over the world. And it'll be a great experience, aside from the fact that you have the Mayan ruins there, Tikal. So it's cultural, it's gastronomic, and it's an impact investment discovery tour.
I mean, it sounds like it's probably the thing to do if you do decide you want to invest in trees. As a side note, I just want to let you know that Alan is here located locally in Pasadena. So he's not in Guatemala. He's a U.S. corporation. He's a U.S. company. You can meet and greet him. We can get together in person if you need to. I would invite you all, if you are considering maybe investing in trees. the future of investments is trees. And so I think it's a good opportunity for you to, at the very least, have a conversation, maybe a discovery call. And if you want to take a trip, Santiago and his team at ATA Global have put together an amazing discovery trip for 4 days, 3 nights. It's a good opportunity for you to at least discover something that maybe you never thought of, but could be an amazing investment opportunity. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for the time that you've shared with me today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge in terms of, the investment opportunity with future of tree investments with Forest to Fortune. I invite anyone who's watching this video, if you would like a discovery call, drop us an email, give us a call, send us a DM. All our information is in the banner below of our live stream here. And reach out to us. We'll definitely put you in touch with Alan and put you in touch with Santiago so we can accommodate you if you want to do a discovery trip. And hey, you'll get an opportunity to also discover Guatemala that has all kinds of beautiful things to offer you as a tourist as well. So, gentlemen, once again, before we leave, anything else in closing that you would like to share?
What I would say, Hector, is thank you so much for having us here. As people reach out that are interested, we can certainly facilitate, let's say, a Zoom call or even an in-person meeting at our offices or at your offices, and take it from there. So thank you and Santiago very much for being part of this.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been an honor for me to have you. And, one of the reasons why I brought this to our audience is because most of our clients are investors, whether they're investors in a single family residence, multi-unit, or commercial. It's all real estate investments, and Forest to Fortune is real estate investment at the very primal level. So thank you again for joining us. My name is Hector Aguilar of eXp Realty. This has been another edition of Foreign Investment Fridays. We look forward to hosting you again. And again, if you have any questions, you want a little bit of a discovery call, don't be afraid to send us an email, give us a call, or send us a text message, and we'll set that up for you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on our next podcast with Foreign Investment Fridays. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.